Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Zebec Network. Okay. You know me, I'm super high on this crypto. I do believe it is going to be at least a top 50 project over the next year, right? I do believe it's going to have its moment to shine and do very well. Listen, we are going to be talking about mainly the technical analysis in this video, but we're also going to be showing you from a different perspective, right? We are going to be using some pretty, I'd say decent to higher end quality indicators, as I do know some people have requested for those, and for me to be giving my opinion on those as well. We'll start off with the basics. We can see, right, we're still in this trend. These are the main key zones, right? Over here, we have one key zone. We have another key zone, right? By key zone, more like swing zones, I should be saying, to be honest, right? These are our swing zones over here. And we can see consistently our swing zones have been creating lower and lower highs, as we have been talking about over the last few months. And here we do have our beloved other key zone, right? We have one key zone here, one swing zone here, another swing zone here, right? We have been on this time frame creating higher and higher lows, and then boom, we could see, right? Boom, and very nicely boom. Okay, we could count this, but this is more like a one-off tap, and we can see, right, just from this visual we can tell that we are getting squished. Our time to make a decision is running out. Based off this chart alone, it would be mid January at best, but usually it doesn't really wait until the last literal second for it to pump or dump, right? For any type of chart or pattern or anything. Usually it starts happening way earlier. And in terms of the time, it would make the most amount of sense for there to be a big momentum shift at the start of January. And the thing is, even at the start of January, we could see a fake out to the downside, okay? Because it's a new yearly candle, there could always be manipulation, kind of like the way we saw manipulation for Bitcoin on the 3-month candle. Where we go remove this, right? Boom. When we were back down all the way, where were people panicking? Here, right? People were panicking here. I remember, right? Boom. We have the 3-month candle here. And then as soon as April started, the first few days we went down, right? Boom. We actually go to the daily. We just see. So we faked to the downside. We took out the March liquidity, and then we started to go up very aggressively. So I would not be surprised if Zebec Network pulls a quick one on the yearly, right? When the new yearly starts, if the first couple of days or even like 2, 3, 4 weeks we go down, and then after that we start having a masterclass of a performance. Look, we will use some indicators. We'll start with our basic one, the MA cross. When the orange is above the green, that means we are bullish up, okay? When the green is above the orange, that means we are in a downtrend. We can see on the daily, we have officially lost that since mid-October. So almost a month now where we are kind of in a bear trend. So even though there has been decent, momentum to the upside, based off this indicator, we are still bearish. When we go to something like the weekly, right, we could actually see this is a little concerning because we are starting to lose a little bit of momentum. Okay, I know some of the colors are kind of same, the green box. I'm just going to remove the green box, but we can see, right, the orange and the green line are coming closer and closer. And as said before, when the orange is above the green, we are bullish. But when we're below the green, we are bearish. And we can see the gap is closing, right? The gap is closing, which also makes me believe that we will see some type of fake out to the downside of 0.002422, or possibly like just a 0.002, as we talked about in the past, right? Because usually when it comes to trend line holdings, I don't like them too much unless they're super narrow, right? If it was something like this over a long period of time where we kind of had a bottom, and then many months later we had a higher bottom like this, and then many months later we had a higher bottom like this, right? Technically that would be creating some type of trend line, but it would be very narrow across a long span, a long period. For me, that's a little bit more realistic to hold than one that's a little bit more aggressive to the upside. All right, and just because market makers are, sometimes they're not the nicest of people. They like to mess with us. So, this is something we are looking out for, right? The orange might be crossing the green, which is not that good for us. When we go and remove this indicator, when we go look at another indicator, the MA cross 50 and 200, we can actually see when we go to something like the daily, right? We are about to cross to the downside for the first time since pretty much the beginning of May. So the 5th of May is when we officially cross to the upside. And as of right now, it's been 189 days. And very, very soon, we might be crossing to the downside. So that's the thing, people, right? That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Even though we've seen price go upwards of 0.003637, if we do not flip that necessarily, it doesn't really mean anything on the bigger picture because we are still going to be showing bearish momentum. So that's why I said I think up until the end of 2025, I don't think there's going to be much bullish momentum generally speaking, because I don't really expect anything crazy to be happening. Kind of the way things are going now, I don't expect it to be that way up until the end of 2025. Now, listen, I might be wrong with this, right? If the ISO compliance does go through, that might be enough for institutions to, break past these highs, break past this high, break past this high, and that would be, the end of November, beginning of December, right? So obviously, there's room for me being wrong over here. I'm just simply telling you what I see right now and what usually happens. But of course, there could be, like I said, the anomaly situation with the ISO compliance. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. We'll keep that in mind. But we can see, like I said, another indicator showing that we're about to start going to the downside. When we go and look at something like the RSI, I know some people like the RSI. We can see that we're kind of in the middle. We're kind of in a neutral range for being overbought or oversold. Um, right? We're kind of just here. So it doesn't really necessarily think that we're too much oversold, right? If we were extremely oversold and we were more on the lower end, it would probably be saying, hey, reversals are going to be coming soon. A huge pump's going to be coming soon. But the fact that we're kind of somewhere in the middle, it kind of just agrees. We literally are just kind of in the middle of a range. It is just the price is just where it's meant to be. We can see when we got oversold or overbought. I mean, look at these pumps, right? Very, very nice. I mean, even this though, technically, this is why these indicators are kind of 50-50 sometimes. I take them with a grain of salt because this was saying it was overbought, and then this was at 78, let's just say, and then this one was at 91. Yes, there's a difference, but also when you look at the actual price difference, it was an extra 225%. Oh, wait, where is it? Boom, yeah. 200. Oh no, wait, it showed up here was the peak. You see? It showed here was the peak on May 26th, but then when it went higher, it was already kind of going back down. But I guess they were just readjusting, right? Because indicators do readjust, and it was indicating that hey, it is extremely overbought, and then boom, it sells off, right? So that's why we take these indicators with a grain of salt. But I know some people wanted them. Listen, overall, still very, very, very bullish on Mr. Zebec, right? We will be looking for sniper entries if things do go lower, like for example, somewhere down here, hypothetically. And we also will be looking at the other charts, the other indicators to be getting more confirmations. That is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. We actually will look at something like the basics. We're ranked 144 out of 9,288 active cryptos. Over the last month, we have gone down 20%. In the last week, we have gone up 8%. In the last day, we actually have gone up 10.5%. When we go and look at something like the holders, we can see the holders have been consistently rising. So very, very nice. We actually see over 100 holders this day. Wow, that's very, very nice. Very, very nice. So we are consistently getting momentum. People are flooding into Zebec. People are jumping in. People don't care about the most pixel perfect price. You know what I'm saying? They see a good price, they get in. It's the same thing we talked about how investors, they bought up somewhere here, a lot of them, and they are just chilling. Even if though they're down, they are just chilling. That is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.